So, what we really should talk about is the mindset that I approach with when I'm trading. So, I always put myself in this position where I'm right or adjusting. Basically, when I trade, I'm never wrong. I never put myself in a position to be wrong because, in my mind, and the very subjective definition of wrong, that means to me that if your one outcome that you expected to happen, right, which is stupid, you should never expect something in markets. If you expect something to happen, you expect one outcome. You maybe it's up, maybe it's down, maybe it's a combination of both, maybe it's sideways. And when you expect that one outcome and anything else happens, you're wrong. You are absolutely wrong. And you financially take a loss due to you being wrong, right? And you are now in ruin. So that whole concept to me is pretty dumb. I would not really want to be wrong in markets. It doesn't really make sense for me to put myself in a position where I'm wrong. It makes more sense for me to put myself in a position where I can potentially succeed regardless of any outcome. So whether that means upside to an extreme sort of exaggeration, downside to an extreme exaggeration, or sideways for the rest of forever, it doesn't really matter. I potentially succeed regardless. That's the point. And that is the mindset that I'm constantly putting myself into. So if we're applying that to Bitcoin right here, right now, what is the Bitcoin chart telling us as of this price action that I've just circled? It's quite clearly saying downtrend, right? We're quite clearly heading to the bottom right corner. I don't see how you can negate that argument if you're looking at the price action as a whole starting from early April, right? There's really no way to negate that argument. And to portray that idea for my very puny brain, I'm going to use the 4 hour 200 moving averages to kind of show me the momentum of price action, right? Truthfully, I don't even need price action itself. I could probably outtrade you by just using the slope of these MAs. And that's the honest, brutal truth. I'm not being arrogant. I'm not being self centered. I don't have this crazy ego, but I'm just giving myself a way of portraying the momentum, right? Price action is a luxury. It is something that gives us additional information. It's something that we can try to find more insight into, right? So if the price action is below these moving averages, the moving averages are quite clearly sloped to the downside for my very puny 70 IQ brain. And when we zoom out and we look at this price action as a whole for the past 2 months, it's quite clearly saying we're heading to the bottom right corner. And even when we zoom out and look at the price action for the past 7 months, it's once again saying we're heading to the bottom right corner, right? So if we continue heading to the bottom right corner, what did you really expect? I mean, really, be honest with me. What did you really expect? If literally everything is saying we're heading to the bottom right corner, we're heading to the bottom right corner, the moving averages, which are very 70 IQ, you see the same 200 MA and EMA that I do, right? And they're clearly sloped to the bottom side. They're clearly implying bearish momentum. On top of that, right, when we actually turn on price action, we have used them as like this clean and precise macro top for the past 2 months. So if we continue breaking down and heading to the bottom right corner, what did you really expect? And yet, this downtrend has lasted for 2 months and negative 45%. That's when I flip bearish. Prior to this trend actually occurring, right? But the actual trend itself, negative 40%, 2 months long. So if we reclaim this trend and all of a sudden break out into the upside and see a much bigger relief bounce and maybe go to, I don't know, 39K, or maybe we break out above that and then head for 59K, or maybe we go to new all-time highs sometime this week, or maybe hyper Bitcoinization, right? Whatever, uh, then we'll adjust. It's like, if we continue to downtrend, we're just simply doing the exact same thing that we've been doing for the past 2 months, and the course of negative 40, 40% encapsulated within those 2 months. And if we manage to break out and reclaim this trend finally after 2 months, after negative 40%, because really, what more can you really ask for? Right? That's impeccable. It's incredible that that trend has lasted this long, and it's been so 70 IQ that anyone with half of a brain can look at this price action starting from early April and tell you we're heading to the bottom right corner. We're probably going to continue heading to the bottom right corner. That's it. My mentality is that of you simply cannot afford to not be able to take advantage of opportunities as they come. So recently, I started to mention a bullish bias, which is preemptive as to my actual system, what we just talked about in the first half of this video. I'm talking about a bullish bias because of my instinct, because I've been, autistically watching these markets for the past 5 years every single day. So, based off of that instinct, based off of the volatility that we've seen recently, this tends to occur right before a like regime change or like an environment shift. So I'm kind of speculating, not kind of, I am speculating that we might see a move to the upside due to this kind of shift in the environment where we've gotten a lot choppier and we've seen volatility really pick up within the choppy range, right? So, uh, due to that instinct, I have positioned myself. The important part to understand is I'm playing chess, right? I succeed regardless of whether we break out upwards and we reclaim, and now my system agrees with my instinct and I'm a genius and I bought the bottom, or whether we continue to downtrend for the rest of forever, because the understanding of that context is what makes me a winner regardless of how I'm positioned, regardless of whether I'm buying or selling Bitcoin. It's so much deeper than that. It's an understanding that I am playing chess and I don't rely on one strategy when I'm playing that chess, right? By buying Bitcoin here, I'm moving my pawn upwards. That's it. Either my pawn gets sacrificed and I'm still in the game, or it's a nice little move to kind of lead into the rest of my strategy, right? It's chess to me. It's not war. I'm not high stakes capital. It is chess. So that's kind of the understanding. I simply cannot afford to not be able to take advantage of any opportunity as it comes. So I put myself in a position where I'm able to take advantage of any opportunity as it comes. And if we really compare this to something that, we can compare it to markets, or we can kind of talk about it as something as vague as like pandemics, right? If you want to go back and look at markets, every single year for the past 5 years, Bitcoin has had a negative 30% range daily candle, right? One daily candle has seen a negative 30% move every single year at least once for the past 5 years. Go back and check, right? I don't really think I'm wrong. I didn't actually do the math, but I'm pretty confident saying that. So you can go back and, fact check me. So just think about that for a second. That has occurred once every single year, just out of random, right? You cannot afford to be that person who is balls to the wall leverage long on Bitcoin, because that literally happens once a year. You're going to get fucked when it does happen the next year, right? Or this year or whatever, right? It happens too frequently. So when we go back and look at something like pandemics, historically, pandemics have happened once every 100 years, maybe even once every couple 100 years, right? If you want to go back to something like the Black Death or the bubonic plague or whatever the fuck, right? That was like the 1300s, I believe. And then we had like the cholera pandemic somewhere in the 1800s, and then we had the Spanish flu in like the early 1900s. And then think back on like the past 20 years. We've had SARS, we've had swine flu, we had the Zika virus, we had Ebola, we had COVID, right? We have all these fucking pandemics that have occurred several times within the past 20 years alone. You cannot afford to not be prepared in the event that a pandemic does happen as it's occurring way more frequently than it should when you look back at history, right? 30% candles for crypto are happening way more frequently, right? 30% candles in one day are happening way more frequently than they probably should, right? So you need to be able to take advantage of those opportunities and not be in ruin in the event that one happens to show up. That's it. That is the mindset. In my opinion, that is the winner's mindset. I think the dogma of putting yourself in a position where you need one outcome in this thing that is markets where variables are infinite, I think it's very dumb. I really do. So that's why I'm never wrong, ever. I'm either going to continue being right, right? If we apply it to here for Bitcoin, I'm either going to continue being right by saying, hey, we're heading to the bottom right corner. We're probably going to continue heading to the bottom right corner, right? I'm either going to continue being right as I have been for the past 2 months, or I'm forced to adjust. That's it. There is no right or wrong. So that's my take. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the video. Always remember, like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube influencer bullshit. Donate to me because I'm still a pleb. I need some avocado toast and whatever, and I want to move out of my grandma's basement. But yeah, thank you guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Take care. See you later.